Canada, who back in February said that he wouldn't close down the borders because that would be racist, but then later closed down the borders anyway.
Because it prevents you from breathing or speaking moistly on them. This will be the new normal until a vaccine is developed.
Why was there a weird hug a Chinese person campaign in Italy on February 1st? Why not tongue kiss them and let them cough in your mouth while you're at it? You don't want to be xenophobic. But really, the only thing that would have lessened this disaster was to close off the borders immediately. Political correctness is one of the main reasons that it got this bad. Now trying to mitigate the spread of the virus at this point is like trying to plug the leak in the Titanic when it's already at the bottom of the ocean. But are scientific facts even important anymore? The WHO doesn't seem to think so, and why wouldn't we just trust an esoteric global health organization that we didn't vote for? They're only funded by Bill Gates and Red China and headed by a literal communist who's been caught covering up several epidemics in the past, including this very virus. Why not trust an agency that had evidence of human-to-human transmission in their reports and then told the world that they had no evidence of human-to-human transmission? But just because they've been constantly wrong and repeatedly caught lying doesn't mean that you shouldn't implicitly trust them, apparently. It's almost as if they wanted to spread this virus. No one said that the evil people orchestrating what is now looking like a plandemic have your best interest at heart. There's no room for empathy in the New World Order, except for this new Facebook emoji, which is what lizard person Mark Zuckerberg thinks empathy is. In other completely unrelated news, Bill Gates has in the past called for a one-world government as a response to potential pandemics. Yes, this is the same Bill Gates who laughed at the concept of our economy crumbling.
The economy is not going to be anything like it was. It's going to take a long time to recover. It's going to be, people are going to be surprised at how slow and how fitful this is.
It's going to take a long time to recover.
The same Bill Gates who met with disgraced pedo Jeffrey Epstein many times.
And he and his spokespeople would not say how many in total they actually met. But this included visits to the mansion, seeing each other in Seattle, flying on Epstein's plane, when we all know Bill Gates has his own $40 million plane. And then, as an investigative reporter, why would Gates say, oh, I had no relationship with him, when of course he knows what the facts are? So that always sets off red flags for me.
The same Bill Gates that belongs to a secret billionaire group called the Good Club, along with Warren Buffett, David Rockefeller, and the devil, where they get together and discuss, quote-unquote, the problem of overpopulation and how to solve that with vaccines.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
The same Bill Gates who played Fantasy Pandemic in November of 2019 at Event 201, with a simulation of a novel coronavirus that killed 60 million people. But I guess things haven't been as bad as you hoped, eh, Bill? Maybe stick to trying to figure out how to fix the viruses on Windows 95. I'm not done yet. Yes, the same Bill Gates, who said that eventually we will have some digital certificates to show who has recovered or been tested recently, or when someone has received a vaccine.
Eventually, what we'll have to have is certificates of who's a recovered person, who's a vaccinated person. Eventually, there will be sort of this digital immunity proof. We have satellite maps where we can see where people are and where they're moving.
The same Bill Gates who has been colluding with Dr. Anthony Fauci to mandate global vaccinations since 2010.
And how you get a vaccine that making 7 billion of those is going to be an incredible challenge. Normalcy only returns when we've largely vaccinated the entire global population.
The same Bill Gates who is now the world's largest donor to the World Health Organization.
There's never been a vaccine project anywhere in history like this. And I just want to make something clear. It's very important. Vaccine or no vaccine, we're back. And we're starting the process. And in many cases, they don't have vaccines. And a virus or a flu comes, and you fight through it. We haven't seen anything like this in 100 and some odd years, 1917. But you fight through it, And people sometimes, I guess, we don't know exactly yet, but it looks like they become immune, or at least for a short while and maybe for life. But you fight through it. But what we'd like to do, if we can, is the vaccine. I think we're going to be successful in doing it, and hopefully by the end of the year. Just
wow. Wow, yeah, so that is the latest and greatest U.S. military technology weaponry used in one of the poorest and most devastated places in the world right now that's dealing with its worst humanitarian crisis than anywhere else on the planet, Yemen. An incident that killed many innocent civilians, and that's why we're going to be talking about that incident, another bombshell report related to this event, and of course the latest lockdown news developing all across this nation. And this is all news that of course you won't be hearing on CNN, the quote, most trusted name in news, that YouTube deliberately artificially pushes on your timeline and jams down your throat, even though they know no one likes them. And how can you? Now, I'm not going to be harping on Greta because, again, she's still a teenager here. A lot of the focus should be on this, I would say, criminally incompetent organization that calls themselves a news organization. Since, again, what they pretty much are is PR for the establishment, trying to maintain the old guard, and has been a cheerleader for eviscerating people's human rights. And with that, psychological disinformation propaganda is one of the reasons why we cannot have nice things. Again, information is key. It is essential. It is empowering. It is what will allow us to deal with this current situation, or it will destroy us if we don't have any of it. And I would definitely allude that CNN is doing their part and definitely not helping people during these times. And they definitely deserve all the ridicule that they're getting right now, as of course Greta Thunberg is now trending on Twitter. And to put a child climate change activist on a panel with alleged top health experts, you really have to start asking yourselves what the hell is going on here. And when you start uncovering the veil, oh boy, does it show a very interesting picture that has nothing to do with reality. And again, it highlights an important message that people should understand, is that the mainstream media, quote, news that is being pushed on you is not here to keep you informed, it is here to keep you disinformed. And they do the bidding of the very powerful, especially of those in government, which you should be skeptical of. And if you're trusting of any of these authorities or authoritative sources, you definitely don't know history, as history of course gives us a very important lesson on how not to repeat our prior mistakes. And that's why during these situations it's important to be rational but also skeptical at the same time. Now personally, one way that I was even affected by this was of course after 9/11 in New York City, where the government and media told everyone that the air was safe to breathe. That of course was not the situation, and because of that many human beings have suffered. Many of them, some of which that I know, have passed away because of this lie that, quote, authoritative sources, including CNN, along with government officials, knew was a lie. And they said it anyway. It was only alternative media, myself and a few other individuals, that actually raised this situation and made it an issue. While, of course, the mainstream media was saying that it was even a conspiracy theory that people were getting sick from the air. And related to that entire event, we have new bombshell information coming out from a court proceeding where allegedly an FBI official accidentally revealed the name of a Saudi Arabian government-tied official that was directing and supporting the, quote, 9/11 hijackers. Bombshell information that should be front-page news everywhere, but it is not. Again, something that I've been talking about for over 15 years now, even longer than that. I've been ridiculed, I've been attacked, I've been called a conspiracy theorist, and now we're getting more concrete evidence that we were right all along. And now a Saudi foreign ministry official has his fingerprints directly in aiding, abetting, supporting, and directing the attacks that happened to us on that day. And that's just one small element out of many elements that we still don't know the full truth about when it comes to that certain event. And even though Donald Trump promised to bring us some justice on this particular issue, he has definitely turned his back on it and has been one of the biggest supporters of Saudi Arabia, selling them the latest high-tech military equipment like the explosion that you just saw in the beginning of this video, which according to some reports has killed 89 civilians and injured 290 of them. Allegedly, these are still reports. It's very difficult to get corroborated reports from Yemen, but these are the initial bits of information that haven't been confirmed yet that we are getting. And when you look at Donald Trump's foreign policy, he has definitely become Saudi Arabia's greatest ally. We even made a t-shirt about this ourselves. And for Saudi Arabia, along with the United States, to be still conducting operations right now in Yemen, place where the world's worst humanitarian crisis is unfolding right now, the U.S. coalition, United States and Saudi Arabia, are working together, bombing trucks, allegedly with medical supplies. And in response to all of this, YouTube will, of course, try to censor this bit of information. That is absolutely atrocious. In related deteriorating human condition news, we have the latest information from Los Angeles government officials that they will be expanding the stay-at-home orders all the way through August. And again, as we said on this YouTube channel, what you're going to see is government officials pushing the goalpost on this issue, and they're most likely going to be doing it even further out than August. And with this news comes more unemployment, more bankruptcy, more suicide, and more human suffering than a lot of the world is ready for. Some colleges in California have even canceled fall classes, and with the way things are going, I definitely expect this to be the norm, while of course the world braces for, of course, the economic ramifications from all of this, which will be far more severe and devastating than this actual sickness. I've been saying this from the very beginning, and oh boy, are the economic consequences really going to be felt here. And while you and other small mom and pop, middle class, lower class businesses get eviscerated, the government that's implementing these policies, again, also, I'm talking as an individual that's been taking this situation very seriously, but at this time and point, I think it's important to understand that locking people into their own homes is not the solution here. And while financially you feel the burden, the government is spending and wasting billions of dollars only indebting themselves, hoping that, of course, you're going to somehow bail them out and pay for their reckless behavior with a pound of flesh. And we're seeing states like New York with their handout asking for $61 billion. California already $54 billion budget deficit. And these are only the beginning numbers in the beginning phases of this, where we have a scenario that will be running out a 2-year cycle. All of this as these same politicians and enforcers and authorities aren't even implementing the own policies that they are calling for. Some politicians are even getting haircuts, plastic surgery, while of course you're told to stay inside. Now the situation that we're in is a very unpredictable one. China has even put in 2 major cities into a lockdown again. There's talk about a second wave, and with many quote experts fumbling and contradicting themselves with government officials, one thing that is clear is that we're definitely in an unforeseen situation that will depend on you being responsible for yourself. No one else is going to do it. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but you as an individual, you are responsible for yourself. And if you fail to do that, that is on you. Another constant that people should be made aware of, since of course the government and mainstream media keep telling you about this vaccine that's going to come and fix everything, well, there definitely should be a larger discussion around that, especially since, of course, there hasn't been a successful vaccine for this type of coronavirus ever before. Why would there be now? There are complications with previous vaccinations, like the flu vaccination, which according to some initial reports could be potentially linked to becoming more exposed and more vulnerable to this current sickness. Again, these are still just preliminary studies that we're finding out new information about every day. If there ever was a time to take responsibility for yourself, it is definitely now.
I'm or Huntington on Monday. I know what. Look, you know what the First Amendment is? Freedom of speech. I have the right to tell anybody.
Don't do this to lifeguards.
Don't do this. What do you mean?
That's provoking.
That's not provoking anything. You can take it the way you want. I didn't provoke anybody. That
if you act like you want to fight.
I didn't act. No. That is you assuming something. That is making an assumption. Dan, look, you don't even have your mask on, so you're not even obeying the own fucking laws. This is ridiculous. And you know what? I will stand here all day long for my wife and kids, and I will battle you to the death about my ability to speak. So that's the point of rights. You're the one who's taking a different stance now that I'm video recording, aren't you?
I've been recording the entire time.
Fantastic. And I will do a Freedom of Information Act on that video to get the whole thing back. This is bullshit. You came at me, you threatened me with where I live, and I feel intimidated by you and your weaponry. How did you threaten? You live on Terry Road, don't you, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to let you know that.
You're trying to let me know that you know where I live? It's fucking bullshit. This is tyranny. It's America. And what you guys are doing is ruining our community. Just as I wrote to the mayor and your chief of police the other day. Just as I wrote to them. So you asked him for my last name. I'll give you my last name now because I feel like fucking doing it. It's Petinero. I have no history. I stand for truth. I'm an American, and I will not have my rights infringed by you or anybody else. Is that bullshit? You told me falsely that you had information that I had violated your rules. I have not violated the rules. What I am doing, I can continue what I want as long as I want. Yeah, good. Now you guys are leaving because I'm making a fucking stink and I'm right. But you know the beauty is, as I told you, do you see what I told you the other day? They take 1 fucking inch and they go for the fucking mile. Know your rights. They do not have anything on me. And it sure, thank you for actually fucking, you're the one who has common sense. This guy's a dick. You don't stand for fucking liberties. Yeah, what have you done wrong? You should never, ever stand for someone who stands for the fucking flag and backs you up in the color of blue. Bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. You shouldn't have to ask for my name. You don't need to ask for my ID. I didn't break any fucking laws. And you know what? The fraud that's being perpetrated against the country right now with these fucking orders is fucking totally unconstitutional. And once the day that somebody finds out that all these numbers are fucking false, it's not going to work. Good. Well, guess what? He's going to be backing up. He's not going forward, is he?
Hello, dear friends. Today I decided to tell you about a very interesting man. I still have no way to verify if all he says is true. However, the information I could find about him so far really seems to confirm that he is the person he claims to be, one of the richest in Russia. Also, according to his own words and references that I found about that and documents which anybody can check on his website, he's a founder of this international treasury recognized by UN, which has a sovereign status very similar to that of a country. It's not a territorial thing. However, currently, as of his own words, again, I have not seen that with my own eyes, but he claims to be the biggest treasure depository of gold bullions in the world. And recently, he claims to have acquired funds of unimaginable for us treasures in terms of funds and physical gold, which he says were transferred to him by the corporation of white spiritual boy, who have been the custodians of that treasure for a very long time and were direct descendants of Solomon, he says. And very recently he came up with official statements that first of all he will be introducing gold standard worldwide in terms of radical change of the monetary system. And second of all, he gave an official warning to all the parasitic servants. I'm saying servants because according to him as well, the mastermind is actually artificial intelligence in the form of computer, the project of which was brought from off-planet. So he published an official warning for the servants to either change their ways and turn to the light in the name of at least the future of any children if they happen to have such, because very soon on Earth those who will not adapt to the way of life will not